best advice?
You may make mistakes. There's never the right approach, but just take the opportunities. And I think that has enriched my life, both personally and professionally.
Welcome to the Rogue L&D Hot Shots podcast, a short podcast allowing you to meet some of the brilliant folk driving people performance and development forward in an informal and human way. My name's Tom Bailey, award-winning L&D leader and passionate maverick for all things development. Join me as I ask just 10 questions of some of the industry's most innovative and interesting people. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, I'm Cherry Ward. I'm the founder of Bluebird Leadership. We are a boutique consulting and advisory firm, and our services reside at the intersection of people and the planet.
What are you passionate about?
I love working with leaders. So as an executive coach, facilitator, and advisor, my purpose is really to cultivate leadership that not only inspires and drives, positive change at a personal level, but also at a societal level. So that really purpose-driven leadership.
What's the best L&D you've seen?
There's heaps out there, and I know quite a few people who have award-winning ones, but this is probably not the best but most impactful for me in my career, and also for the people of the organisations that's involved. So about 12 years ago, so think back, 12, 13, maybe even 15 now, 2009, 2010, I was working at ASX top 50 company, Stockland, who really led the way in terms of culture, diversity, flexibility, sustainability. These are terms that corporates didn't talk about, right? So I was involved as an L&D manager in designing 2 programs for all leaders in the organisation. And the 2 programs were around well-being at work and flexibility. Like, this is 2009. Some organizations are still grappling with flexibility. I do remember, some of the leaders coming going, do we bring a yoga mat to the session? But no, it's about how do you create a culture of flexibility in the work, And we had some great outcomes from that. We had the CFO going, well, I'm going to leave early every Wednesday because I want to pick up my kids from school. We had someone who said, well, I'm going to work differently on this day because I want to go and play golf. So it wasn't just about flexibility for working parents, but it was about flexibility for everyone. And I think we missed the point on that even now, being involved in conversations around flexibility and well-being. So I thought the organisation was really ahead of the game. The chief people officer at the time, really visionary. And for me, someone who was brought on to design and run these programs, it was just a delight. And for me, it was like, wow, this is great. I get to do some research around well-being. There wasn't much back then. It was just tapping into things like positive psychology and what is the concept of well-being. There was hardly anything there, even flexibility. I think there might have been PepsiCo. They had a great flexibility policy at the time, but there wasn't many organizations to look at and to aspire, so it was great. And hopefully, other organisations are now looking up to organisations like Stockland.
Favourite hand gesture?
Mine is because I'm quite small. You've met me in person, I'm like 5'1". I'm very short, so I like to expand myself. So it's just, I don't know if you can see it fully on the screen, but I'm always have my hands out. I don't have any specific ones, but I like to use my hands just to expand my presence as a facilitator.
One thing you didn't learn?
I had to think about that because being an L&D, but also I focus a lot on my own personal growth and learning. So everything I think about, I go, oh, skiing. No. I learned how to do that. But I did think of one because I always get this reminder. It's like a bit of a GPS. So when I'm training, I do a lot of weightlifting and heavy too. And my coach always says to me when I'm deadlifting, especially the heavier sets, he'll say to me, orange. Think of oranges in the armpit, and it sticks with me. And he'll give me a reminder every now and then because the posture you have to do to deadlift, right? You've got to have your sort of lats switched on, your arms, and so you don't hurt your back. And so I always go oranges in the armpit, and you just get into the right position. Again, that's not something I've taught myself, but so for me, that was something I didn't learn, but it helped me perform better.
Proudest moment?
Oh, look, I had to think about that one. There's a few, but actually it's a project I'm working on right now. So with one of my colleagues, who's also in L&D, Rebecca Needler, we've been passionate about this particular project. So we've just designed, developed, delivered a program called Thrive Under Pressure. So it's all about tapping into how do you manage your personal energy, your well-being and resilience for optimal performance. And we've been working on this for a while. We've delivered some workshops, we've done some online stuff, we've landed a corporate client, we've run some in-house workshops, which has been amazing. It's just been one of the workshops, a shortened version, selected by Culture Inc. for their global programs, for their culture chapters. But one of the coolest things was I was on an online summit recently, a big conference worldwide around sustainability, and the IMD Business School out of Switzerland started talking about these concepts, and it had exactly the same models. Now, the models, the framework we use, it's backed by research. So it's not anything that we've developed, and because we saw a gap in the market, we're like, no one else is doing this. And to have it validated by a business school, exactly the same kind of topics, not the same workshop, but it was just really, it was a moment where I've gone, wow, okay, we're doing something really unique and cool, and it's been validated.
Worst experience in L&D?
Think of anything really bad. I think I've been fortunate to work on some amazing projects, and I've had great leaders, great visionaries, even CEOs. I think the only ones that I could think of are probably like rollout of compliance, which has been terrible. I don't want to name organizations. It's not the worst, but I guess it's where there's a lot of money wasted. So there was previous organization I worked for, who I won't name, rolled out a leadership program, but it just wasn't well thought out. A lot of money spent on it. And I just think, there was very little return on investment. Yeah, I think that's a common story we all hear.
Best celebrity moment?
No, I haven't had any close brush-ups with celebrities, and I'm not one to stalk. If I see someone in an airport lounge or whatever, but there was one where I can't even remember that he's an actor, but obviously not A-list celebrity. If I showed you a picture of him, you see him around, but we were at a resort outside of LA, and we're just walking on the beach, and I said to my husband, I swear I know that guy. He was just carrying a baby and walking along the beach, but I did look him up in, IMDb, and I was like, that's him. He was walking along, but we just didn't make much fuss about it.
Something not many people know about you.
Yeah, I know we spoke about weightlifting before. Maybe not many people know about it. I love skiing. I don't know. I think it's people who know me know that now. But maybe to the listeners, or maybe to even some of my clients and, coaches that I work with, I love skiing. I wish I'd learned to ski as an adult. Just my parents didn't really, migrants, skiing's not an activity that you do. It's quite expensive. And I learned to ski as an adult, and I absolutely love it. If I had my time over again, I would have, if I'd learned how to ski as a kid, I reckon I'd be a professional skier. I love it that much.
Best advice?
Regardless of where you are in your life, regardless of whether you're in L&D or not, take the opportunity and be open to opportunities. I'm currently listening to Marshall Goldsmith's The Earned Life. I'm reading that book at the moment. It's a great book. You may make mistakes. There's never the right approach, but just take the opportunities. And I think that has enriched my life, both personally and professionally. So, I took an assignment to move the family to Canada. It didn't work out, not personally. We didn't want to come home, but, the project ended up early, and we ended up having to come home earlier than we had anticipated, but we loved it. It actually made us all better skiers, having lived through a winter in Canada and being able to go skiing every weekend. I've said yes to a lot of things where I've gone, should I have said yes? Even moving into L&D. So I went to uni and studied business, and I was going to be a stockbroker, and I worked as a stockbroker for a stockbroking firm for 3 years, and I went, no. This is it for me. Went and had I was looking for a new role and had 3 interviews, right? One was for finance for a bank, and the same thing. One was for a publishing house because I always wanted to be a writer. That's work in progress. And then the other one was really random. It was AOL. Do you remember AOL, the company? And I ended up, I ended up taking that job. And in a few months into it, as a tech support for broadband, I ended up in L&D. That's how my career in L&D started.
Thank you to our guest and to you for listening. If you want to boost the impact of your organisation's people development practices, I'd love to connect. You can find me at thomasbailey.co. Alternatively, you can look me up on LinkedIn.